When you look at Bruegel's Tower of Babel, you get swallowed by it. A massive tower curling into the clouds with each tier built on the stubborn dream of reaching the divine. Pieter Bruegel the Elder's The Tower of Babel is one of the most famous paintings in history. At first glance, the tower appears majestic, serving as a bridge that connects earth and heaven. Or is it? The tower base is crumbling, the walls are leaning at strange angles. Scaffolding is hanging like fragile ribs, and all around it countless workers are engaged in all sorts. Crawling, some are climbing, some are sailing, and some are even just having a nap. Sort of what we do, isn't it? Most people see it as a story about punishment, but what is the real story behind Bruegel's Tower of Babel? Is it just the downfall of a majestic tower and a punishment? Or is it in fact a depiction of the birth of human diversity? To know everything, we have to go back to where the legend began. And it began for us in the book of Genesis, according to which this gigantic tower was built by a unified humanity that spoke one language at a time. The Tower of Babel was the symbol of their achievement, and it was supposed to prevent their scattering somehow. The book reads, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." But God looked down and saw something dangerous. It wasn't the tower's height, but humanity's ambition. They wanted to build a tower so tall that even God wouldn't be able to touch it. So, God decided to punish them for their presumptuousness. I mean, how rude! And so he scattered them and meddled with their language. Different languages created confusion among people. The tower was left unfinished and named Babel, meaning confusion. That's the biblical version of the legend, where pride was punished. But centuries later, the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus came up with another version and filled the gaps in the biblical version. He collaborated with the Romans and combined records from different sources to create this version of the legend that later became accepted. According to his book, Antiquities of the Jews, King Nimrod, the man on the left of the painting, was the person behind the construction of the tower. King was the great-grandson of Noah. When God unleashed a great flood on the world to punish humanity, King Nimrod became a tyrant. He turned his people against God, and this tower? It was no longer about glory. It had become an act of rebellion against God. According to Josephus' version, Nimrod wanted to avenge himself on God for the flood. He wanted to construct a tower so high that even God's water wouldn't be able to reach it. With Nimrod at the helm, the tower was not a symbol of unity. It was a manifestation of tyranny. These are two versions of the same story. The biblical version tells us about humanity's pride, and the Josephus one? It gives us Nimrod's rebellion. But both versions have the same ending: confused people, scattered languages, and the birth of new cultures. And centuries later, when Bruegel picked up his brush, he didn't just paint the downfall of a massive tower, he painted the moment when diversity entered the world. The painting is a whole world. Bruegel shocked everyone with the details in the painting. It's like he's given life to each and every corner of the canvas. In the painting, you can see King Nimrod with his entourage at the bottom left, while stonemasons pay tribute to him. His pride has blinded him so much that he fails to notice his dream falling apart in front of his eyes. When you stand in front of the painting, the first thing you notice is, well, the tower. First of all, it's incredibly huge. It's so massive that it overshadows the town behind it, and the castle appears as just a small dot. On the horizon, nature stretches as far as the eye can see. Fields, valleys, forests, meadows and watercourses, revealing a timeless beauty far greater than a man's fugitive creations. Back to the tower though. It slices into the clouds, but just as we think it's going to reach the heavens, we realise it will not, because the base is already crumbling and the rocks are tumbling. The tower is tall but not straight. It's leaning as if it knows it shouldn't be standing there. The whole painting portrays chaos in motion and the futility of a man's endeavours. Everyone is doing something, but accomplishing almost nothing. Even the water around the tower is witnessing the chaos. Ships sailing in, carrying out building material. Common men are rowing a boat with their full strength. And there's also a ghost figure there doing, well, something ghostly. But let's move back to the tower again. If you look closely, it's more than just a tower. It's an entire city where we can spot tiny houses and all sorts of activities going on. People are cooking, hanging out laundry to dry, and trying to make a life on this crumbling structure. Now, look closely at the workers' site. Workers are climbing, hammering, hoisting, operating massive wheels, sleeping, and... oh dear, look at that! It's the poop guy! Bruegel was so in love with this guy that he painted him several times. One of them is Netherlandish Proverbs 1559, where two men are portrayed as two sets of buttocks defecating out of the same window over a canal. Dutch humour, we can assume, but it's always hard to tell. The whole canvas of the Tower of Babel is bleeding with dramatic irony. When we look at the details of it, we know that the building will collapse, but the characters within the painting don't know that. They're so busy building the thing that they're barely aware of its reality. Pieter Bruegel was one of the greatest artists of his time. We don't know much about his background, but we do know his art, and that's more than enough to keep him relevant. And something that we know about his work is that he painted a total of 3 paintings with the subject of the Tower of Babel. The first one of these paintings got lost over time, but the other 2 versions are still with us. These 2 paintings are distinguished by the terms great and little, but there's one major difference between these paintings. There are no distinguishable human figures in the little Tower of Babel, unlike the great Tower of Babel. It has the tower, it has clouds, it has water, it has boats and activity, but the figures shown are tiny, ant-like, except for 2 or 3 in the left foreground. Not even King Nimrod shows up in this version. Moreover, the structure in this painting, although imperfect, is much more complete than the other version. The Great Tower of Babel painting is displayed in the Kunsthistorisches Museum Wien in Vienna, and the little one is displayed in Museum Boijmans van Beuningen in Rotterdam. When you look closely at the structure of the tower, you may feel something familiar. Perhaps the Colosseum? Bruegel visited Rome in 1552. Rome was the eternal city, supposed to last forever, but its decay and ruins symbolised the vanity and limitations of earthly efforts. By Bruegel's time, the ruins of that empire still loomed over Europe, a constant reminder of how perceived greatness and invincibility can crumble and fall away. So maybe Bruegel's intention was to draw a parallel between Babylon and Rome. After his Roman visit, Bruegel returned to Antwerp where he lived. It was Antwerp where he painted his work, and some believe that the Tower of Babel was inspired by Antwerp. The city wall depicted in the painting is that of Antwerp. At that time, the city was powerful and growing rapidly. It was a major hub of trade and therefore welcomed many travellers. Those travellers spoke different languages, had different cultures, different styles, different religions, making Antwerp a place of cultural and religious diversity. We can spot the same diversity in Bruegel's painting too. Different people, different cultures and different activities. But next to diversity, there's another similarity between Babel and Antwerp. King Philip II of Spain, who ruled the Netherlands at the time, is believed to be the inspiration for King Nimrod in the painting, he being dressed in Renaissance fashion. Both kings ruled with iron fists, and another thing they had in common was their determination. King Philip was determined to enforce Spanish Catholic rule in Antwerp, while King Nimrod was determined to build the tower. But both failed. The painting tells a story of pride, collapse and destruction, but that's just looking at the surface. When we look at the bigger picture, it reveals something else. The tower is collapsing, the dream is shattering, but humanity is still there, and something new has been born. Diversity. Genesis framed this as punishment, confusion and disaster, but out of this came language, culture and tradition. While many focus solely on the tower's downfall, Bruegel saw the broader perspective hidden beneath the collapse. Bruegel's artwork is a masterpiece of visual storytelling. On the surface, it depicts failure, but beneath that lies diversity. What looks like a ruin is a seed in reality, scattering in countless directions, giving rise to cultures, languages, and identities that still shape our world today. The tower doesn't stand as a monument to what was lost, it stands as a reminder of what was achieved. Out of confusion came creativity, out of division came variety, and out of collapse came the birth of a new human story. That is what Bruegel's painting leaves us with, a broken dream that gave life to 1,000 new ones. Bruegel's brilliance showed brightest in the Tower of Babel. In this masterpiece, he captured something deeper than collapse. He captured the inevitability of diversity. At first glance, the monument looks like a failure, but on a closer look, it becomes a portrait of humanity scattering into languages, cultures, and stories that still shape us today. It's not just the tower crumbling, it's the sparking of us, in all our glorious, infinite variety. Bruegel painted the beautiful chaos of being human. And if you'd like to support little glimpses into cultures and stories that still shape us today, and perhaps look at building towers of your own.
Oh God, get off the roof, Mom, would you?
Then like this video and subscribe to our channel, Arts Wonders, because we really do wonder more and more each and every day.